Good morning. I'm thrilled to be here today to present to you on letters of recommendation and what you should look for in obtaining those letters if you decide to apply to the Enlisted to Medical Degree Preparatory Program. The QR code on the screen here is certainly the best place to get all the information you need about this program. Several objectives today. What are the letter of recommendation requirements and expectations? Go over what your goals are when you're looking to obtain a letter of recommendation. Identify reasons to request a letter. Really think about those unique needs of each of you who are applying for the Enlisted to Physician Degree Program. Some best practices in requesting letters. How to overcome pitfalls when requesting letters. And most importantly, if someone asks you for what type of format or structure they should provide, that you can give them that information. I really care personally, as the Vice Dean of the School of Medicine, that you're applying to this program. As each of you know, the enlisted force is the backbone of the U.S. military. And when we have folks with that enlisted experience who become part of our medical corps, you provide the best care to our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and guardians. I really hope you continue on your road to applying to this program. So what are the requirements? You must get a letter of recommendation from your commanding officer. Please note, because at times this is confusing, this is not the same as the letter of approval to apply to the program. That's a different form. The letter of recommendation, though, one must come from your commanding officer. That is one of the 5 total letters that you can obtain. We really encourage you to obtain all 5. You don't have to, you only need the one, but the 5 letters can really give a chance to show who you are as an individual beyond your grade point average and your other experiences. Details, again, can be found on our website. So what are your goals in getting this letter? The Enlisted to Physician Degree Program in particular is looking for folks who eventually become leaders in the medical corps and leaders in the military. So superiors, peers, subordinates, others who have worked for you who can comment on your leadership skills are particularly excellent letter writers. We absolutely want to capture a little bit about who you might become as a physician. So any shadowing that you've done or any clinical work that you've done, getting letters from folks who supervised you or worked alongside you in those environments can be key. Really important too, we know from research that the most impactful letters are ones that comment on your emotional intelligence, on who you are as a person. We can learn all about your background and experience and where you went to school from your CV. We can't learn about who you are without a good letter of recommendation. So if you have a particular mentor or leader who has seen you grow personally and professionally, who has seen you interact with others, who has seen those leadership skills, this is an excellent person who can write a letter of recommendation for you. And do understand, this doesn't always have to be a superior. It could be a peer. It could be even a subordinate. It could be a community member. All of these folks can become part of that group of 4 additional letters beyond that required letter from your commanding officer. Emotional intelligence. Dr. Daniel Goleman has told us that people who succeed in organizations really have emotional intelligence that is marked by 6 particular traits that I'll go over in the next slide. Your letter writer is the individual who can showcase that emotional intelligence, who can tell us about aspects of it, and really can fill in who you are as a person. Those 6 features: adaptability. When you're faced with a new job, a new set of experiences that you have to adapt to, how do you do it? Achievement orientation. Despite huge workloads that we all face, you still manage to accomplish fill in the blank. A positive outlook. There are tough days for all of us, but are you that person who brings optimism to the party? Empathy, that you're able to identify what fellow workers are going through, fellow service members, and help them through those occasions. Self-awareness, you can identify when you have a weakness and you do something to correct it. And lastly, emotional control. During an event that's stressful, are you able to continue to work and succeed despite that? So those are the 6 features. And obviously, one letter writer can't comment on all, but we love it when a letter writer can pick out 1 or 2 and comment on that with experiences that they've shared with you. So, how do you ask for these letters? First off, always give the potential letter writer a chance to refuse. If they don't feel they can write a strong or a good letter, please don't try and talk them into it. This is probably not going to be your strongest letter. If a person says no, respectfully move on. It's important to explain to them, and both probably face-to-face and then with a follow-up email or communication, exactly what the purpose of this letter is, which is to help you gain entry into the Enlisted to Physician degree program. They're addressing the letter to the admissions committee, and you can link them to the website, which shows how to send the letter. And always, always waive the right to see the letter. If they say, I'll share it with you in advance, thank them, but say, no, this letter should be confidential and should be sent directly to the admissions committee. When you choose to not waive your right to see the letter, it is a less impactful letter. Your enlisted service has absolutely strengthened you with unique experiences and personal growth, and these should be highlighted. Whether you've come from a medical career field or a non-medical career field, everyone should have had experiences that can demonstrate that adaptability, that overall achievement orientation, empathy, and day-to-day work ethic that we'd like to see in those letters of recommendation. And if you're stationed somewhere without access to a military treatment facility, clinic, or hospital, feel free to likewise shadow civilian physicians. They understand what it takes to become a great physician, what it takes to make it through medical school, and can highlight some of those qualities in letters of recommendation that they choose to write for you. A few pitfalls. It can seem that the best person to write a letter is the person with the highest military rank. Now, if you know that individual, that may indeed be true, but I would say most of the time that's pretty rare. And so really the best person to write one of your letters is someone who knows you and someone that can comment on some of those traits we're looking for. And again, always ask the person, hey, are you willing? And do you think you can write a strong letter for me? And if they hesitate in any way, thank them and move on to another potential letter writer. Always ask that individual in the first paragraph to comment explicitly on how they know you. For example, I've worked with this individual for the last 12 months at X base. And if there's any conflicts of interest. In most cases, there should be no conflicts of interest. What would be a conflict of interest? They're a relative, obviously would be one. You saved their life at some point. They should identify these things. It doesn't mean they can't write a letter, but the admissions committee wants to know if there's any potential conflicts of interest as they read these letters. Other pitfalls. Be clear and direct. Again, that's why it's important to send a follow-up message or set up a formal meeting. Don't just catch someone coming off the elevator and ask them, because they may not be exactly sure who they're writing the letter for, what the aim is, and how important it is to identify some of those aspects of your personality that your CV can't convey. Please give folks at least 2 weeks lead time, longer if possible. It really isn't fair to any busy person to ask them to write a letter in the next 24 hours. Again, the fact that you have a deadline shouldn't make it that you give them a deadline that's almost impossible to meet. And it would be ideal, of course, to give them more than 2 weeks, 6 weeks, so they can do this letter when they have time and they can put some thoughtfulness into it. Let them know that a letter should not be more than 2 pages. In fact, there's good research showing that a 1 to 1.25 page letter is the most impactful. Always offer your military resume or CV so that they can quickly identify exactly who you are and what you've done in your career. And feel free to share the Enlisted to Physician website so they understand what the admissions committee is looking for. Anytime, as always, if you have questions, please reach back here to the Enlisted to Physician program team, and you can access all that information on the USU website through that QR code with your questions, and we are happy to answer them. So what is that format? If they ask you again, well, how long should the letter be? What should it look like? 1 to 2 pages maximum. Typed, dated, letterhead is also required with a clear signature and a signature block on the letter. Again, it shouldn't just be an email. It needs to be a formal letter. It can be sent digitally, but not just an email. And the 5 key sections, if they ask you to identify them, are: why am I writing this letter? So they identify, I'm writing this for this individual to gain entry into the enlisted to physician degree program. Their relationship and any conflicts of interest in the second sort of sentence and or paragraph. 3, just brief highlights of who this person is and their experiences, because the admissions committee will have that from the CV. And then that 4th section is the most important: demonstration of emotional intelligence, picking out 2 experiences they've had with you that demonstrate your adaptability or your achievement orientation or your empathy or any of those other 6 qualities. And then lastly, a clear summative statement about you as an applicant. This is one of the top 10 enlisted members I've had the pleasure to work with. This is one of the best. This is a person who's highly qualified. So a clear summative statement that the admissions committee can look at and that carries some punch. And let your letter writer know we're not looking for 3, 4, 5, 6-page letters. 1 to 2 pages max. And in fact, some of the most impactful letters are just 1 page long. Do remember that you are able to submit 5 letters, but we do require 1 letter of recommendation from your CO at the rank of 04 or higher. That is a mandatory letter. And this is distinct from the commander's letter of approval to apply to the program. Those are separate documents. I would really recommend you do try and get those 5 letters. Each can tackle a different aspect of who you are as an individual. You know, it could be a physician, could be your supervisor, could be a commander, could be someone who worked with you, your employer in the past, could be an allied health professional, a radiology technician, a laboratory technician. All of these folks can get at different aspects of who you are and help the admissions committee to understand exactly who you are. So think about those 5 letters. Remember, you've got to get 1 from the commander, but use those other 4. Too often we see this opportunity missed, and the admissions committee is left a little bit wondering who this individual is. It really is an opportunity to showcase yourself beyond your military record, academics, test scores, and statements. So think long and hard about that, and feel free to reach out to us for some of our opinions on who these best letter writers could be. Lastly, I want you to know the application period is May to September. Your best resource is always the Enlisted to Medical Degree Preparatory Program webpage. Also can be found at this QR code. There are multiple other videos there, including this one. Please look, read, listen, start early, and ask questions. Thank you very much.